I was Stuart Davis, a 38-year-old software engineer who built my entire life around my family. For 19 years, I thought I had the perfect marriage with Amanda, and raised our twin daughters Jessica and Lauren into beautiful 18-year-olds. I worked 60-hour weeks to give them our comfortable suburban home with the pool they wanted. Then I started noticing small changes in Amanda. Late nights at work, new clothes, password-protected phone. That morning, when I saw a text notification from RT flash on her screen, my world began to crumble. If you are watching this right now, I would love to know where you are tuning in from. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like this video if you have ever had your trust broken by someone you love. Growing up in a middle-class Chicago neighborhood, I learned early that nothing comes without hard work. My parents divorced when I was 12, and my mother struggled to keep our small apartment while working 2 jobs. I promised myself I would build something better, more stable. I put myself through college working nights, at a convenience store scraping by on ramen noodles and determination. Computer science became my passion and ticket to a different life. I met Amanda during our junior year programming lab. She was brilliant, funny, and had these incredible green eyes that lit up when she talked about code optimization. Our first date was at a 24-hour diner where we stayed until sunrise, talking about everything from binary trees to our dreams of having a family someday. 6 months later, I knew she was the one. We married right after graduation, both landing decent jobs at tech companies in the Chicago area. When Amanda got pregnant with twins 2 years later, we were overjoyed but terrified. We decided she would stay home until the girls started school, tightening our budget but giving our daughters a solid foundation. Jessica and Lauren were identical, but completely different in personality. Jessica was bold and outspoken like her mother, while Lauren was thoughtful and analytical like me. Once the girls entered elementary school, Amanda went back to work at Thompson Marketing, quickly rising through the ranks with her sharp mind and creative strategies. 10 years later, she was leading her own team, and had just been promoted to senior marketing director under the founder Richard Thompson. Our life seemed picture perfect. Sunday dinners became sacred in our household, with phones banned and everyone talking about their week. Every summer, we rented the same cabin in Wisconsin where we would fish, hike, and stay up late playing board games by the fire. Movie nights every Friday with homemade popcorn and ice cream sundaes. I thought we were happy. We seemed happy. The first changes were subtle. Amanda started updating her wardrobe. Nothing unusual about that, except these were not the practical business clothes she typically bought. These were designer pieces, more stylish and expensive than anything she had owned before. She got a new haircut that must have cost $300 and started going to the gym 4 times a week instead of her usual weekend classes. Business trips began appearing on her calendar with little notice. Thompson Marketing had been expanding, so it made sense. But something felt off about how vague Amanda was when I asked about the details. She became protective of her phone, changing passwords and taking calls in another room. When I would walk in, she would quickly end conversations. I started noticing our daughters becoming secretive too. They would exchange knowing looks when I asked where their mother was or why she was late again for dinner. The girls seemed to be covering for her, making excuses that sounded rehearsed. For our 19th anniversary, I made reservations at Mariposa, the upscale restaurant where I had proposed. Amanda arrived an hour late, flustered and apologizing about a client emergency. When I expressed my disappointment, Jessica and Lauren, who had come to celebrate with us, immediately jumped to her defense. Jessica snapped at me. "Dad, you know how important Mom's job is right now. You should be more understanding." Lauren added, "She cannot just walk out on a client because of dinner plans." Their response seemed disproportionate, almost as if they were following a script. Later that week, while hanging up Amanda's coat, I caught a whiff of cologne. Not mine. Something expensive and unfamiliar. Richard Thompson had always been friendly at company events, perhaps too friendly. He was in his early 40s, divorced, and had the confidence of a man who had built a successful business from nothing. At the company Christmas party, I noticed how he placed his hand on Amanda's lower back when talking to her, how their conversation seemed intimate despite the crowd around them. I told myself I was being paranoid, that successful people often developed close professional relationships, but the unease grew. Sometimes I would catch Amanda smiling at her phone, and when I asked what was funny, She would say nothing and put it away. Our conversations became surface level. We stopped sharing details of our days. The intimate connection we had maintained through years of raising children and building careers seemed to be fraying one small thread at a time. On a Tuesday in March, I left work early with a migraine and drove past Thompson Marketing on my way home. Amanda's car was in the parking lot, but when I glanced up at the windows, her office was dark. It was probably nothing, I told myself. Maybe she was in a meeting room or had gone to lunch with a colleague in someone else's car. The next morning, while Amanda was in the shower, her phone lit up on the bedside table. A text from RT appeared. "Miss you already. Dinner tonight, same place." I felt my stomach drop. RT. Richard Thompson. I had never snooped through my wife's phone before, but in that moment the temptation was overwhelming. Before I could decide, Amanda came out of the bathroom and I pretended to be asleep. That weekend I was fixing the garbage disposal when I overheard Jessica and Lauren talking in the kitchen, not realizing I was under the sink. "Do you think Dad suspects anything about Mom and Richard?" Lauren asked quietly. "No way. He is clueless," Jessica replied. "Besides, Mom said they are being super careful. I still feel weird about it. Dad would be crushed if he found out. Mom says she and Dad have grown apart. These things happen. At least she is happy now." I lay there frozen as their conversation shifted to school topics when Amanda entered the room. That night I confronted the girls, asking directly what they meant about their mother and Richard. Jessica immediately went on the defensive. "Are you spying on us now? That is so inappropriate." Dad Lauren tried a different approach. "I think you are being paranoid. Maybe you should talk to someone about these trust issues." Their denial only confirmed my fears. The next day, while looking for car keys in Amanda's purse with her permission, I found a receipt from the Lakeside Hotel downtown. Room service for 2 wine and a movie charge. The date was a Thursday, when Amanda had told me she was working late on a presentation. The final straw came when I found a small jewelry box hidden in her desk drawer while searching for stamps. Inside was an expensive watch with an inscription, "To many more moments together." The accompanying card was signed simply, "Love always, R." Amanda's explanations became more elaborate and inconsistent. A late meeting became dinner with clients. A weekend work session became a mandatory team-building event. Each lie seemed to build on the last, creating a complex architecture of deception. I began documenting everything. Dates when she claimed to be working late, receipts I found, changes in behavior. I felt like I was losing my mind, second-guessing every interaction we had had over the past year. Had our entire marriage been a lie? Despite feeling guilty about it, I hired a private investigator named Frank. He was a retired police detective who specialized in infidelity cases with kind eyes that had seen too much human weakness. Within 2 weeks, he had photographs of Amanda and Richard having lunch holding hands across the table at a restaurant far from her office. Frank advised me to be patient, that this was just preliminary evidence. The stress was taking its toll. I lost 15 pounds without trying. My work performance slipped, leading to a concerned meeting with my manager. I would lie awake at night, replaying conversations and interactions, looking for clues I had missed. Then Frank called me to his office. "I have something you need to see," he said gently. The photographs showed Amanda and Richard entering the Lakeside Hotel together on a Wednesday afternoon, then leaving 4 hours later. The timestamp matched a day when Amanda had told me she was visiting her mother in Milwaukee. I sat in my car in Frank's parking lot for nearly an hour, afterward alternating between sobbing and staring blankly at the steering wheel. 19 years of marriage. 2 children. Countless memories. All potentially tainted by this betrayal. That evening I found Jessica and Lauren alone at home, and confronted them with what I knew. After initial denials, they admitted they had known about the affair for 6 months. "Mom deserves to be happy after everything she has sacrificed for us," Jessica said, as if rehearsing a line she had been fed. Lauren added, "You are always working anyway. You barely notice us most of the time." Their words cut deeper than the affair itself. Not only had my wife betrayed me, but my daughters had become complicit in the deception. The 3 people I loved most in the world had formed an alliance against me. The final devastating discovery came when I saw texts on Lauren's phone that she had left open on the counter. Amanda and Richard were discussing their future plans. They were waiting until the girls finished college to leave me. 4 more years of living a lie while they prepared their exit strategy. 4 more years of me working myself to the bone to pay for my daughter's education while my wife planned her escape with another man. After my discovery, I knew I needed professional advice. I met with Patricia Williams, a divorce attorney recommended by a colleague who had gone through a similar situation. Patricia was straightforward and compassionate, explaining my options without sugarcoating the difficult road ahead. Document everything, she advised, and secure your finances. Not to hide assets, but to protect yourself. Following her guidance, I gathered all our financial documents and created separate accounts. I moved half of our joint savings to a protected account that Amanda could not access without court intervention. Each piece of evidence of the affair and my daughter's knowledge of it was carefully documented and stored. I waited until the girls were at a friend's house for a sleepover before confronting Amanda. I wanted a calm, private conversation without their interference. She came home from work to find me sitting at the kitchen table, a folder in front of me. "We need to talk," I said. "Can it wait?" "I am exhausted," she replied, setting down her purse. "No, Amanda, it cannot wait any longer." I started calmly presenting one piece of evidence at a time. The hotel receipts, the text messages, the photographs. Her face cycled through emotions: surprise, denial, anger, and finally, when confronted with the undeniable proof, resignation. "It was not supposed to happen," she said, tears starting to fall. "Richard and I were just working late, and he understood me in a way you have not in years." "In what way have I failed to understand you?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "You are always working, Stuart. Always focused on providing more, bigger, better. But you stopped seeing me. Richard makes me feel appreciated, desired. And that justifies lying to me for 14 months, I asked, watching her eyes widen at my knowledge of the timeline. "How did you know it has been that long?" "I hired someone. I had to know the truth you would not give me." Amanda's shoulders slumped. "I was going to tell you. I just needed time." "Time for what?" "For the girls to finish college. For you to secure your exit plan with Richard." Her head snapped up. "Who told you that?" "The same daughters who have been covering for you." "Did you know they knew about the affair?" This genuinely seemed to shock her. "They know how you were not as careful as you thought. And apparently you taught our daughters that loyalty to family is optional." Amanda moved from defensive to pleading. "Stuart, I will end it with Richard. We can go to counseling." "Please, 19 years cannot end like this." I shook my head. "The 19 years ended the moment you decided to betray everything we built. I have already seen a lawyer." That changed her tone instantly. "You, what?" "Without talking to me first. You cannot just decide unilaterally how this ends. You decided unilaterally to have an affair. I will take half of everything," she threatened, anger replacing tears. "The house, your retirement, everything. Take what the law allows," I said calmly. "But no amount of money will change the fact that you and our daughters conspired behind my back, that you plan to use me for 4 more years before discarding me." Amanda grabbed her phone. "I am calling the girls. They need to come home." An hour later, Jessica and Lauren sat with Amanda on one side of the living room while I sat alone on the other. The symbolism was not lost on me. "Dad is overreacting," Amanda told them. "We can work through this as a family." "No," I said firmly. "There is no working through this. I am filing for divorce and I am moving out temporarily while we sort through the legal process." Jessica jumped up. "You cannot just throw away our family over one mistake." "One mistake?" I asked incredulously. "This was a 14-month campaign of lies, and you both participated. We did not want to hurt you," Lauren said quietly. "Yet you chose to hurt me every day by lying, by covering for your mother while she destroyed our marriage." "Where will you go?" Amanda asked, suddenly realizing I was serious. "That is no longer your concern," I answered. "My lawyer will be in touch." The following Monday, my attorney filed the divorce papers. I had found an apartment near my office, month-to-month lease, sparsely furnished but clean and quiet. I arranged for a process server to deliver the divorce papers to Amanda at Thompson Marketing. I wanted Richard and the entire office to see the consequences of their actions. From my colleague who worked in an adjacent building, I heard the scene was dramatic. Amanda broke down crying at her desk as the server handed her the envelope. Richard emerged from his office to comfort her, confirming their relationship to everyone present. Amanda was placed on unpaid leave, pending a review of company policies about relationships between managers and subordinates. With Patricia's guidance, I met with our financial advisor to change my will and beneficiaries on my life insurance and retirement accounts. I decided that a portion of my estate would go to a scholarship fund for first-generation college students instead of my daughters. The betrayal had shown me that I needed to reconsider the legacy I wanted to leave. I wrote a letter to Jessica and Lauren explaining my decision. Trust and honesty are foundational to any relationship, I wrote. Your choice to participate in this deception has broken my trust in a way that will take significant time and effort to repair, if it ever can be. I hope someday you will understand that actions have consequences. While they were at school, I returned to the house to collect my personal belongings, family photographs, and mementos that could not be replaced. I left their rooms untouched. Despite everything, they were still my daughters, and I hoped that with time and distance, we might find a way forward. I began therapy with Dr. Marshall, a counselor specializing in betrayal trauma. What you are experiencing is similar to PTSD, he explained during our first session. Your entire reality has been called into question. That takes time to process. Following his advice, I joined a gym and began working out daily. The physical exertion helped with the insomnia and gave structure to my days outside of work. I reconnected with old friends who had drifted away during my marriage, finding support in people who knew me before I was a husband and father. The divorce proceedings were contentious. Amanda claimed emotional distress and abandonment, trying to portray herself as the victim. But when my attorney presented the evidence of infidelity and the text messages revealing the plan to leave after the girls graduated college, the judge was unsympathetic to her claims. The final divorce terms were favorable to me due to the documented infidelity. I kept my retirement accounts and stock options, while Amanda received the house with a substantial mortgage remaining. The girls were adults, so custody was not an issue. 3 months after moving out, I heard through mutual friends that Amanda and Richard's relationship was deteriorating under the strain of public scrutiny. Richard had demoted her to avoid a lawsuit from other employees, and the passion that had seemed worth risking everything for had faded when faced with real-world complications. 6 months later, I met Catherine, a physical therapist who treated me after I injured my shoulder moving furniture. She was kind, straightforward, and respected boundaries. We began dating casually, enjoying simple pleasures like hiking and cooking together. 9 months into my new life, I received an email from Jessica. Dad, I miss you. I know what we did was wrong. Can we talk? I waited 3 days before responding, telling her I was willing to meet, but not yet ready to forgive. We had coffee at a neutral location, both of us awkward, and unsure how to bridge the chasm between us. On the 1-year anniversary of discovering the affair, I took a personal day from work and drove to Lake Michigan. Sitting on the shore, I reflected on how much had changed. The pain had not disappeared, but its edges had softened. I could go whole days without thinking about Amanda and Richard. I had created a new life, different but not lesser. Eventually, both Jessica and Lauren reached out for reconciliation. Our conversations were difficult but healing. I explained how their betrayal had affected me, and they shared their own confusion and regret. We began rebuilding our relationship slowly with clear boundaries and expectations about honesty. I never returned to the blind trust I once had, but I found something perhaps more valuable: self-respect, and the knowledge that I could survive the worst betrayal and emerge stronger. Forgiveness, I learned, does not mean forgetting or removing consequences. It means releasing the anger that binds you to the pain, allowing yourself to move forward without being defined by what was done to you. True happiness comes not from others, but from honoring your own worth, from refusing to accept less than you deserve, from having the courage to walk away from people who demonstrate through their actions that they do not value your love and loyalty. What would you do if you discovered your entire family had betrayed you? Would you have the strength to start over? Comment below with your thoughts. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that they are not alone in their struggles. Thank you for listening to my journey. Remember that even in our darkest moments, we all have the capacity to rebuild and find joy again.